What if a 24-team playoff is the exact thing that ruins college football? And as conferences keep chasing power and money, where does that leave schools like Texas Tech? Could 16 teams be the perfect solution? We debate on today's episode of the Broadway Shuffle. I am Brennan Baxter, pleased to be joined by my co-host Clayton Anderson, Zyler Buchanan, the one and only Conrad Mills, all four of us back together. And it was a big week in college football, gentlemen. Brett Yormark comes out, says the Big 12 likes the 24-team playoff. The ACC commissioner, Jim Phillips, has come out in favor of the 24-team playoff. But domestic terrorist Greg Sankey, Zyler, who we typically disagree with here on the show, is holding firm, and so is ESPN. Your thoughts on the drama surrounding playoff expansion and what we could expect here in the coming weeks?
Yeah, as much as it's fun that the ACC and the Big 12 like the 24 team, it doesn't really matter. It matters what the SEC and the Big 10 think. They have ultimate control over that, them and ESPN. So I know it's fun that the ACC, but the SEC and Big 10, they could say it's a two-team playoff between the Big 10 and the SEC, and they can decide. So ultimately, that stuff doesn't really matter. The other thing that I think is more important is that ESPN doesn't want it. And ESPN owns the rights to the college football playoff, I believe, through 2033 or 2032, somewhere in there. And if you've noticed and you've followed college football business deals, over the last 2 to 3 years, they've been sub-licensing their games, which means I do not have the inventory to place this game, and I have other events that I think are better, namely NFL games that they, I don't know if you know this, but NFL TV audiences are insane. Like, great college football games draw like 3 million people. Generally good NFL dreams draw like, 20 million people. It's something that's just not even close. And so that, to me, I think is interesting, because if ESPN doesn't want to expand, I don't think it's going to expand, because they'd have to pay for those additional games, and they're going to have to sell those advertising slots. And if it doesn't make money for them, they're not going to be interested in it. So a lot of weird business negotiation sides there. What's best for Tech? What's the SEC going to do with all this pressure on them? I think we'll find out here pretty soon, but it's a fascinating place for the sport to be at right now.
So, Clayton, when you're talking schools like the Big 12, and this is why, Brett Yormark comes out and says in favor of 24, he's defending his programs like BYU that don't get the love and respect that they might have gotten in another conference, even though they only lost to one school last year in Texas Tech. But it just, to me, 24 just seems like, what are we, some socialistic type society where we're just going to start handing 8 and 4 teams and 9 and 3 teams playoff bids and other conferences? At the end of the day, in my mind, it doesn't really favor teams like BYU. It only empowers the average SEC and Big 10 team. So your thoughts on what Brett Yormark specifically said when it comes to the Big 12, and do you agree with Brett Yormark?
Yeah, I definitely understand why he's thinking this way. And I think from a Big 12 perspective, it does probably make sense, because at 24 teams, like, there can't just be 22 Big 10 and SEC teams and then one ACC, one Big 12. Like, with that large of a playoff, there's definitely going to be multiple teams from the Big 12 and the ACC. I do agree with you that at 24 teams, there would be a bunch of average SEC teams getting in. But honestly, we're kind of already there. Like, OU making the playoff last year. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's kind of already the reality of it. So I understand why he's coming from. I think, like, the perception of the playoff is, like, it's been so small that you would think, the way you view it now, I guess, is like the true national title contenders make the playoffs, where I think if it went to 24, it would be more of like the playoffs as a spectacle, kind of like college basketball. Like, you understand that, like, teams 17 through 24 have realistically no shot to win it, but it's just, I guess, more entertainment. And I think it could be good for the sport, because I think you've seen, like, the power kind of decentralize since the playoff went from 4 to 12 and talent spread out. So I don't know if you took that and expanded it to 24, maybe that helps. But I do agree with you that, like, I don't think we need those teams to be competing for a national title, but I understand why Yormark would want it for conference perspective.
Conrad, when you look at the SEC, and we know you're anti-Big 12 here on the show, and we get it, so you're in favor of no one other than Texas Tech getting into the playoff, because you don't think any other school matters in the Big 12 other than Texas Tech. But when you think about the SEC's perspective here, and Sankey, and he's saying, hey, 16, like, this is the guy that goes to bat. We debate all the time on the show, average teams, just because they have the SEC logo on their helmet doesn't necessarily mean that they're a super powerhouse. But where do you stand on Sankey kind of staying, like, more at 16 and not wanting to jump to 24?
I think there's a lot of reasons for Sankey wanting to do 16 teams instead of 24. Like, it makes sense for them But I honestly think that's probably best for the sport, because I think we've had the conversation here on the show several times about, okay, well, what does this do with the calendar? Is the calendar broken? We've all said yes, resoundingly, week after week after week. I don't know that people are thinking as much what happens if you go to 24 with the calendar. Like you're probably playing into like I don't maybe even Super Bowl window. And then what do you do for spring ball and stuff like that? I mean, unless you start mid-August, there's just so many things there. And so if you're going to expand, 16 makes the most sense for me. Just from a logistical standpoint, obviously the Big 12 can make their arguments. And again, I get, like Clayton, I get what your Mark is saying. He wants more Big 12 teams in, which from his perspective, that's exactly what he should want. If
Certainly.
he didn't want that as the commissioner of the conference, why are you in that seat? So I mean, I get the arguments from his side, I get the argument from Sankey's side, but the problem is you're not having an objective party here that can really zoom out, look at everything from a 30,000-foot view and say what's best for the sport, because ESPN, all they want is money. All the SEC and the Big Ten want is money. The Big 12 and the ACC are clamoring for their seat at the table to get what they want, which is money and respect. And so there's just not a good system for this in place. But 24 to me just feels ridiculous.
So Zyler, I was going to go to you. So for schools like Texas Tech specifically, when you're looking at this and your Mark, and Conrad's absolutely correct. Like every commissioner, every conference commissioner is supposed to look out for the best interest of their conference. The problem is we're not under one unified conference trying to come up with some unified system in the playoff. So from Texas Tech's perspective, you've invested heavily in the program. You're coming off a Big 12 championship. You're coming off a playoff appearance. It looks like you're going to have many more opportunities to win championships as long as the investment and the culture continues to grow. Do you support from Texas Tech's side wanting an expanded playoff, or are you sitting there going, we are going to what looks like dominate this conference? You're recruiting at a high level. You're winning championships. Like, who cares? You're going to be in the top 12 most likely. Do you feel like it benefits Texas Tech at all?
Man, that's a hard question to answer. The thing from the Big 12 perspective, Conrad is got it dead to rights. The Big 12 would probably net one extra team every other year in a 16-team format. You probably net 4 teams every single year if you go to 24. The Big 12 will have 4 top 25 teams every year. They may have 1 top 15 team every year. And so I completely understand why the ACC and the Big 12 are behind it. I am not as certain why the Big 10 is so pushing for the 24. And I get why the SEC would want it, because most likely they're going to get 7 teams in the playoff when they do something like 16. They may not add a single team if it goes to 24. When I think about it from a Texas Tech perspective, I don't know. I think you are so much more interested in what is good for you developing a great football program. I don't know that either decision makes a huge difference. I think expanding to 16 gives you more of an opportunity to get in. If you do somehow drop a Big 12 title game, or you do lose 2 games, can you get in as a 10-2 Big 12 team? I don't think so in the current format. I don't think the committee respects the Big 12 enough to do that. And I mean, you've seen what they've done with BYU. You know, BYU went 12-1 and couldn't get in over 9-3 SEC teams. So I think in that sense, I think expansion would be helpful for your national title aspirations as a college football program. I think I would actually be more in favor of 24 than I am 16, because I know why the SEC wants 16 and not 24, and it's because it doesn't let Big 12 and ACC teams in. They know that. That's why I can't get why the Big 10's so interested in it. And then what the proposed format is. Like, are we doing 8 play-in games to a 16-team bracket? Like, is that what we're looking at here? It's still just really convoluted, and ultimately just it feels short-sighted. You could be fine at 8 teams. I think most of your national title contenders will be in the top 8. I think you'd be just fine at 12. If you give me the choice between 12, 16, or 24, I think I still want 12. I don't think you need more teams in this conversation. And now, like Clayton said, it almost becomes a participation thing where, yeah, we know these teams aren't going to win the title. They don't really have any business being in this tournament. They're going to be there anyway. So weird discussion that's never centered around what's best for the game, but what's best for these individual conferences or individual TV networks, which is so frustrating.
I kind of feel like it benefits Tech to stay at 12 or 16, because if Tech creates like a stronghold in the Big 12 on playoff appearances, and it's like Tech is making it like 2 out of every 3 years, 3 out of every 4, I feel like that does something to elevate the program. Where if it goes to 24 and there's like 4 Big 12 teams making it every year and you're one of them, I don't think, like, I feel like that kind of washes it out a bit.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. Yeah, exactly. Where it's like you get a tournament appearance for March Madness. Doesn't really mean that much anymore. So did Hampton and Long Island.
Yeah.
Congrats. Show me what you can actually do in the playoff. That's where it starts to become more important. Whereas now making it is an accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing for college football fans, right? Like this is a conversation that is really everyone has their perspective, which everyone's entitled to. But the problem is there's not a unified vision on what this looks like and what's best for everyone. And you're never going to get that with the current way it's done. That's why you would hope that somebody with some power, maybe like, the government, as they've kind of done a little bit, would get involved and maybe put some rules and regulations there. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I am, so it's one of those things that you kind of hope happens, because if not, it's just going to be the money grab thing. And that's what I don't understand, that the 24 team is just like, we saw a few years ago that what were all the first round, all the first round games were blowouts. And you think that there'd be any difference maybe with going to 24 teams? Like it just feels, it feels like you do that. I feel like the sport loses interest. Like I don't know that gains interest for college football as a whole. And so the whole thing to me just feels off. It just feels like a money grab, like you said, Zyler. And it's one of those things where it's like, what's happening right now is not, in my opinion, good for the sport as a whole.
Certainly. I do have a question. Do we know which TV network is primarily associated with the Big Ten?
I mean, CBS has a lot of rights for Big Ten. They now could do Big Ten on CBS like they used to do like they used to do ESPN. So I would assume that it's CBS.
But the other big streaming partner that does their other college football show that's not ESPN would be the other one that I'm talking about, specifically Fox. Fox currently doesn't have any college football playoff inventory, and they also don't have any NFL playoff inventory. Do you think there's maybe a push from that particular media company to say, no, we need more college football playoff games because we know ESPN will have to sub-license them? And who could potentially swoop in and buy those games up? That would be the Fox Sports Network.
Yeah. Which I'm for. I am for ESPN having to remove complete power. I mean, they own the college football playoff. The NCAA doesn't even own the college football playoff.
Which is crazy to think about.
Crazy.
TV company.
That'd be like the NFL just giving up rights to their games.
Yeah.
And
the Amazon Prime NFL Championship.
Right.
It's like,
like it's not the NFL Super Bowl. And so to me, that just doesn't make any sense the more you go to a professional model. And I completely agree that I think 24 teams doesn't make any sense either. But it's murky because, Conrad, at the same time, like I don't necessarily want like an Orwellian 1984 government control over the sport either. Like I don't want more government in control of something that like what Ted Cruz is going to have a say in what goes on in college football. Like, give me a break. That doesn't do anything for me. So I don't.
What's the solution? Yeah, then what's the solution to not dilute and water down and break the game?
I have the solution. The solution.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you guys ready for this solution?
I'm ready for the solution.
Okay, well, let me give you the solution.
I want to know how realistic it is, though.
Okay, but let me
January 6th at ESPN.
Yeah, but before I give you the solution, and then you guys can go after me for it, we do want to thank Wonder Tree for sponsoring this episode, and also Hub City Body Shop. They're great partners with the Broadway Shuffle. And also, real quick, if this is your first time tuning in, listening to us, we are here every Monday and Thursday. We would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. It's 100% free, and we appreciate you tuning in on Spotify, Apple, Texas Tech Plus, or YouTube. But subscribe if you can, and we appreciate you joining the show. So, gentlemen, I have been thinking nonstop. I was in Florida all week. I had a lot of time to think about this, and I think that 16 teams is actually the perfect solution. And it would take realignment. But, Zyler, to your point on Fox, I've come up with it. 2 32-team conferences. So you have a 64-team Power 4. 8 divisions within that conference. So you have 8 teams of 8 within their division. So you can look at a division like Texas Tech, Texas A&M, TCU, Oklahoma, SMU, and Houston, like an 8-team thing with regional. So you bring back regionality. You play 8 division games. You have 1 division winner and 1 wild card. And then you have 4 non-conference games, 1 against a sub Power 4 team, and then 3 against other Power 4 non-conference games. But all the non-conference games do is give you week 1 through 3 to a very interesting regionality game. So you could have an Alabama versus Texas week 1, but a loss doesn't affect Texas or Alabama not making the playoff because they get to go win their division, much like the NFL. So now you have 16 teams total in the playoff, 8 division winners, 1 wild card. You bring back regionality. Fox and CBS get one division or one conference, ESPN gets the other, and then you have the playoff games. You have like 4 wild card teams play in the first round, but they're all from the Power 4. So you have now allowed a major conference to get one regionality, rivals back, and then a 16-team playoff. I think if you realigned it back to where you now created essentially 2 NFL leagues within a 64-team ecosystem and allowed division winners, and you might get a crappy team, but if you have a division of Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Mississippi State, Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida, odds are you're going to have 1 or 2 really good teams out of that 8-team pot. Your thoughts?
Can I ask questions? What do you do about the G5?
You screw the G5. It's over. It's going there anyways. The fact of the matter is
they're not going to win anything anyway.
They're not going to win anything. Like, let's stop playing pretend that Tulane or James Madison or anyone actually deserves a seat at the table. They just don't, and they're going to remove them anyways. So you remove the G5. You just
completely agree. Completely agree.
Could Appalachian State ever beat Michigan? That's the question.
Like, no, there's not now, not anymore, not
now. Why not?
No, it's just not going to happen. Like, and the fact is, we don't want to see it. Like, we no one's going to want to tune in on December 19th, and Clayton's just sitting there. Clayton,
okay.
Like, Clayton,
when
you feel like
group of schools sue and say this is antitrust, you are excluding us from competing for a championship. What does that entity then do?
They're going to lose. Like, it doesn't.
So then it gets scrapped.
But the problem is it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, I think you can. Okay, fine. If you want to make it all happy, then you can have 2 playoff teams from the other 64. So, like, you can make it 16. You can have 14 teams, take away 2 wild cards. I don't care. The point is, though, if we're talking about bringing back common sense to college football, you need to make it more regional. Rutgers doesn't need to be traveling to UCLA. You need to simplify the conferences and the way you get into the playoff, and it needs to be objective. There won't need to be a committee if you guarantee 2 playoff people from divisions, much like the NFL. There's no, if the Bills lose to the Patriots and the Bills get the wild card, it's like, we know what's happened. They played and they all played each other. I just feel like if you're going to go to this model, that makes the most sense to me. Like, move it to 16, and then no one can complain when they miss the playoff because everybody played everybody. In the G5, sorry, dude. Like, no one wants to watch you play Oregon in the playoff anyways. Like, the media, we don't care. The market doesn't care. And you listen to the market. What are we telling you? We don't want to see James Madison. We don't want to see Tulane. Sue us. We'll win. That's what I think they should do.
So I guess, because I do like a lot of your ideas. What happens when the Big Ten and the SEC decide that they should do that with their 30 teams, and that Tech and TCU and Florida State and Louisville should sue them because nobody wants to watch you guys anyway?
Clayton, you care to answer that?
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's too good to be true, but I definitely think that it would be better than the current thing. I do agree that the G5 should get a way to get in.
I don't.
But really?
I agree with Brennan. I'm on the same page. Nobody wants to watch that. And it's all entertainment. It's all entertainment.
You know what? Texas would have been way more entertaining than OU or Alabama last year, and I would die on that hill.
What it's just about, but it really is like, what is the market telling you? Like, would you rather see Oregon and Alabama in a playoff game? Let's say Alabama, well, I'm taking a mid-tier SEC team from last year, then James Madison. So Alabama's that 12. Like, that's probably where they really would have been slotted, right?
Yeah.
In that game, like, compared to James Madison in a 66-26 drubbing. Like, it doesn't benefit the TV markets. It doesn't benefit us.
Those G6 teams likely get throttled, but imagine the spectacle when they do knock, because they're not going to bat 1,000. When James Madison goes into Austin, Texas, and knocks off the Longhorns, it'll be one of the greatest college football playoff games of all time. And it's an amazing scene. As opposed to
Texas 75 times.
Texas gets to play Illinois. It's like, dude, I don't care about that game either.
I think.
Yeah, I'm with Zyler. Like, these Power 5 versus Power 5, those are one, and like, you can find a ton of those. Like, I'm never going to remember Alabama getting blown out by Indiana. I might as well experience the G5 blowouts for the chance that one time.
The problem is you're going to have the blowouts of Alabama, Indiana, sure. Like, it's not like you're going to have great games across the board every week. I understand that. But we want to see more of the Power 4 teams. Like, just like in the NFL, are you going to watch the Titans and Raiders at 3:05 on a Sunday afternoon. If you don't, maybe unless you've got, I don't know, Jacoby
Fernando
Myers
Mendoza and Cam Ward. Are you kidding me?
Okay, this goes against the NFL rewards a complete it's meritocratic. Like if it was based on who the people wanted to watch, the Cowboys would be in the Super Bowl every single year because that's who the people want to watch. If it was market,
I don't know why.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the other interesting thing, Brendan. I think 64 teams would be really fun if you divided the conferences like that. There's currently 68 Power 4 teams, including Notre Dame. Who would you leave out? I have a really good list of teams that I think I would
now that's fair. You'd have to add Notre Dame into one of the 32.
Yep.
Like that.
Yep.
So look, again, I've been thinking this is only a week. I'm just thinking about it here in real time. I haven't broken down each division. Maybe I can do that for you guys and send it in. But who would you leave out? Gosh.
I would kick out Baylor, TCU, SMU, Houston.
Yes. That's exactly what I was going to say. Exactly.
I think Houston would have a real chance of getting relegated in that situation.
But do you feel like
Same
Texas
with
Tech,
UCF.
do you really think like the SEC and Big Ten, who, sure, they could go to a league of 32 and play their own, but then you're talking about 32 other schools that are just as big as them, that have as much of enrollment or state funding or sort of thing being left out too. Like, I just feel like I'm not as concerned about like a Texas Tech and Oklahoma State in a potential league of 64 being left out. Like I can't see the Big Ten and SEC saying, we're going to go to 32 and like leave out other major schools across the country.
I absolutely can. I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they like your model so much, they're going to try to do that and exclude everybody.
Look, I was talking to Greg about this last week. Actually, funny story, Z, real quick. In all seriousness, I have a friend who lives in Alabama, and Greg Sankey goes to his church. And I told him that we think he's a domestic terrorist, and he said he's actually a really nice guy.
There's plenty of terrorists that would tell you that.
Yeah, I was like, well, we don't like him here on the Broadway Shuffle. So
I'm not trying to play. I guess just to ask a question and play devil's advocate for 1 second. If you were Greg Sankey, wouldn't you be doing the exact same thing? Like from a monetary standpoint and to the benefit your schools? Yeah. Wouldn't you do the exact same thing he's doing?
I think, yeah. Conrad, isn't it interesting? Because I think you bring up a good point. Isn't it funny how it feels like Greg Sankey's kind of lost control over the sport in the last 18 months? Where it's like his members would never step out of line and say things that he wants. And he's flat out said, I don't want to get rid of conference championship games. And you have the Alabama athletic director saying conference championships have run their course. It's time to nuke them. He's got his members bickering over all sorts of stuff. Like it feels like he's kind of lost control over the sport and its narrative from Tony Petitti, who I would have thought that was almost insurmountable 18 months ago. And it's funny how that's shifted really, really quickly.
But who ultimately, and that's a good point, Tyler, but who ultimately has the control? Like it is the conferences a little bit, but the conferences are beholden to the media companies. And that's what's a little tough about the whole thing is you don't have, they're media companies at their core. Are they sports media companies? Yes. But at the same time, they're ultimately thinking, how can I sell this ad, that ad, make all of that money that I possibly can? And so they're ultimately the ones making the decisions, not even, sure, the conference commissioners are in on it, but they're the driving force behind everything, which is really unfortunate because it's not being seen and they don't care what's best for the sport. They care what's best for their corner of the sport so they can make as much money on it as possible, which again, I get it from their perspective, but for college football fans as a whole, there's just got to be a better way.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I guess where I'm going with this thought too is when I think of college football and what makes it special, like you mentioned the games, the 1 in a million games, but I think about Texas and Texas Tech and Lubbock in 2022. I think about beating Texas A&M at College Station. And I think about the rivals, the in-state rivals that you've got. The game against OU in Norman where you beat them in 2012, and then you had opportunities and you beat them in 07 that almost jump-started the 08 season back when Harold knocked him off at home. And it's like to bring the regionality back to the sport. And like, why do we care to go to West Virginia? Like, I don't care about the John Denver Bowl. I don't care to play Cincinnati. And if we're being honest, I don't think Texas cares to play Kentucky. I think Texas rather play us and have the bragging rights in state. And so I think if you can just get it back to how do you subsidize it? I'm not sure. Maybe it's not an 8 division of 8 model in the 64 or 68, however you want to division them up. But if you can create a system where like you get more of that, because that's what makes college football And then you reward people for winning those games and beating an in-division rival, regardless of your non-conference schedule. Like, you reward the games that matter to the teams, and you can find a way to make that work. I don't think it's 24. I don't like that idea at all, but I think you can find a soft spot at that 16 range where you get all of that inclusive, and you get to make college football what it really is, which is Texas Tech at Texas in 08, or Texas Tech in Oklahoma, or Texas Tech against Oklahoma State in Stillwater. Like, and we're just losing that. And that's what bothers me the most. And I think if you can create a system that rewards those games, that's where college football fans will want the sport to be. And it's not there right now.
And what's so different about college versus the NFL is it's so, like you said, Brennan, it's so, at least it used to be, so relational. Right, like when in Texas and Texas A&M being back is good for the sport, but think about if that was sport wide. Think about if that was everyone. Like OU and Oklahoma State are not going to play anymore.
That's a great point.
And they haven't been. That's horrible. That's horrible for the sport.
Right.
That's horrible for the state of Oklahoma. It's just not. It's not good. And that's what we want to fix. Not that we have the power to here on the Broadway Shuffle, but from the Texas Tech perspective, like, could you imagine how fun it would be for Texas Tech now in this era of college football with the NIL investment to play Texas A&M, to play Texas, but no, we don't get to, because of the way things are set up. And that's I think what's so frustrating about the whole thing, but there is a better way to do it. But I do think from the Texas Tech perspective, now coming down to earth a little bit from the 30,000-foot view, I do think that Kirby Hocutt and co and administration and board of trustees and all these people who are in on this want Texas Tech to be positioned best for this next realignment phase that is going to happen. And I just refuse to believe that Texas Tech is not going to be included in whatever the next iteration of college football and college athletics looks like. Why? Because they've invested properly. Why? Because there's been success at the highest level. Have you won championships? Not necessarily. Are you succeeding at a level that other schools and other conferences are not? Absolutely. Like you would absolutely throttle the bottom half of the Big Ten and the SEC. And so I think you're setting yourself up to be included in that. It just depends. What does that look like? When does that happen? And what true argument do you have to get a seat at the table when that time comes?
You bring up a great point. I asked this question on our Discord the other day, and if you want to join, shoot me a Twitter DM. A lot of fun. We talked a lot about realignment and all that just the other day. What's the level, if there was a super league and it was 32 teams, 34 teams, 36 teams, what's the amount of teams that get included where you feel like Tech has a greater than 50% chance of being included? Like if it's 16 teams in a super league, I don't feel very good about our chances of being included. If it's 50, I feel really good. Where's that line where you think, I think it's more likely than not? And to me, it's like right at like 36-ish, 38-ish. Where's that number for you guys?
Clay?
Zyla, let me ask you this. Is this complete fantasy land, or is this like realistic?
Some entity called the Super League says we're getting all of the football program, the best football programs to create a Super League. And that's what they decide to do. And they say just the best programs. They don't tell you what they're evaluating on, not historical trends, not money spent. We want the best programs. And that's what they choose to do. So in that world, whatever best means to that particular entity.
I think 36 is like the right number, but if they're cutting the bottom of the Big Ten and SEC, I think you could make it at like 32 if you continue on the trajectory now for like the next, until I guess they make this decision. But I think right now 36 would be where I would put it to.
So this is happening right now, Zyler.
Like it happens for the next season.
Like going into 26.
Yeah. But it's forward facing. It's not just who's going to have the best teams this year.
Oh, I could very well say 24, and I think you'd be in.
I love that. I love that.
Are you? I mean, we were the fourth seed in the college football playoff, and the roster only got better.
Well, I'm saying programs moving forward. It's not just who has the best roster.
But the investment leads you to believe the recruiting, the investment, the facilities, everything. Like you're in the state of Texas, your university's growing, your academics are increasing, getting better. 24 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can make a case. It'll be just, that's when you're pitted against the North Carolinas of the world and the South Carolinas of the world and the Stanfords, or maybe not Stanford, but Washington or Nebraska. And so you'd be going up against programs of that ilk. And that's where I think it would get really interesting.
Great question. I would go top 25.
I love that.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, I mean, the Big Ten TV deal is up in 2030. The pieces are going to start moving, not this year and maybe not next year, but way sooner than people are thinking. Like, this is coming down the pipe in the next 50 months. I mean, it's going to be here well before you know it. And the Big 12's deal is up in 2031. And so what happens when maybe Tech's potentially trying to make a exit of the Big 12, if that's their aspirations to make it into a Super League or some other conference?
How could it not be?
And the Big 12's trying to negotiate a TV deal. Like, what are you doing in that? Are you signing those deals? Is Utah, like, what do you do there? I mean, it's going to be very, very contentious in the next 48 months, I think, because that stuff is coming very quickly.
And all of our listeners who have been with us from the very beginning will say, man, Conrad was right. It's exactly what's going to happen.
That's what. That's what they say every episode. But yeah, it's going to be something to monitor, man. I'm excited. I'm gonna keep crafting my 64 Super League team idea and set up best for Texas Tech. I did find it interesting that Yormark and Cody Campbell both were like pushing 24. I understand why they're doing it, but I just don't agree on the 24 team model. But we'll see. It's 12 next year, and that's all. Let's just take it one year at a time and see what happens. But let's get to our rapid fire questions of the day presented by Hub City Body Shop. Thank you to Hub City for presenting our show as well. To Clayton, I'm going to you first. We're going 3 Big 12 quarterback rapid fire questions for you guys. Some tough ones today. Tyler, I'm going to save the last one for you because I don't know if Conrad has done his quarterback previews yet and knows all the 16 quarterbacks in the Big 12 yet. So I'm not trusting his ball knowledge just yet. So Clayton, first question for you. Yeah, well, okay. Can you name me Iowa State's quarterback?
I didn't know Iowa State was still in the Big 12. I thought they were Group of 5.
Exactly. All right. So, Clayton, first rapid fire question for you. Which Big 12 quarterback has the most pressure heading into this season?
I think there's a real good argument for Hammond, but just to go against the grain, I'm going to say Mestemaker because I think they basically took the entire UNT team over there in order to jumpstart this rebuild for OSU. And I think if they're just terrible again this year, that's going to be like such a gut punch to their athletic department that I think that you can make an argument for him. But I think it's like neck and neck with Hammond.
Ooh, spicy.
I like that question. All right. Conrad, I'll go to this one for you. If you could build a team around one Big 12 quarterback for the next 2 years, which quarterback are you taking?
Lloyd Jones. Kidding. Kirk Francis, guys. Kidding. Okay. I'm glad I got to laugh at you guys for that. I think, obviously, you want me to give the Homer bias take, Will Hammond, which I can give you. But I don't know what changed for me. But that guy up in Stillwater, Mestemaker, he's got some potential. That's a spicy take change that has recently transpired for me. Again, it's all hype right now. I still think I need to see a little bit more from him on the field, but going with his coach into that Oklahoma State program that did have talent. I mean, they weren't just completely depleted. That's a really interesting pick for me. Mestemaker, him or Hammond. I'm gonna give you a 1A, 1B, Hammond and Mestemaker, but who knows? I mean, it could be the right answer could be DJ Lagaway, but I would never let myself admit.
All right, that wasn't. It's rapid fire. You gave like 9 different answers. We got
okay.
it.
That's
You're
all right.
supposed to answer. Let's answer one. We ended up with DJ Lagaway. I can't believe we got there. All right, Z, your question: which Big 12 quarterback is most likely to become a surprise national breakout star next season?
National breakout star. I think Julian Lewis from Colorado could do it. He's got the 5-star pedigree. He's got Dion. He'll have the media attention if they're good, and I think that's something that could work for him. If Connor Weigman goes down and, the number 1 quarterback in the country last year, Keyshawn Henderson, steps in and rocks, like that'll be a really awesome story, and that could be a national breakout. I think the other pick that I would have is maybe Colin Klein resurrects Avery Johnson's career and he breaks out in a big way. Those would be the 3 that I think could really make national headlines. But my actual answer is going to be Brendan Sorsby returns from his gambling to play against Houston and leads Tech on the most controversial Heisman campaign of all time, lifts the trophy. It's going to be amazing. Brendan Sorsby is the breakout national star for the Big 12 this year.
Could you imagine? That would be the most wildest story. And Conrad's.
I'm here for it.
But yeah,
here for it.
Conrad's prophecy would be fulfilled of announcing Brendan being the Heisman. I think in like January. So it would be something. But man, great job, guys. Z, I'm gonna pick you as the winner for that one. Conrad, we'll work on your rapid fire skills. But Clay, good job as well too. But coming up next time on the Broadway Shuffle on Monday, we are gonna do something really fun Sunday night to record. We're going to go through the top 10 Texas Tech games of all time, but we're going to draft them. So it'll be, I believe it's me and Clayton against Zyler and Conrad. And we will do five of us, or each of us will pick 5 games. Zyler and Conrad, you guys get the first overall pick. And so we will do that, drafting that Monday. It'll be a ton of fun. We're looking forward to that. So make sure if you have not already to subscribe. It's interesting, 63% of our listeners are not subscribed. So we would appreciate if you would join the other 37%. I think my math is right there. So that would be awesome. But
Congratulations.
We appreciate
you can do
all
math.
of you guys. I can do math. We appreciate all of you guys that have tuned in, been here with us throughout the year. We look forward to bringing you much more content throughout the summer. And we thank you, and we will see all of you on Monday. So for Zyler, Clayton, and Conrad, I am Brennan. We'll see you guys next time on the Broadway Shuffle.
Thanks, Brennan.
He makes the catch. He's going all the way. 20, 15.